the fishermen and how good they are. And you're also looking at a field of fishermen that the entire ability of that field is so much better than it was. But I got to fish with Larry Nixon in tournament competition. The first day that Larry Nixon ever fished a national tournament, he drew me as a partner. And I remember distinctly, the way he tells the story, he tells his friends, well, Jimmy told me that, boy, you're going to be pretty good if you'll learn how to cast. And I don't remember telling him that, but I probably did. But I remember the end of that day, coming in at the end of the day, and both of us caught a good string of fish. Lake Gaston in Virginia is where we fished. Both of us had a good string of fish. But I remember my wife, Chris, at the end of the day saying, that boy you fished with today did pretty good. Is he? How good is he? And I told her, I said, listen to me, that boy right there, if he sticks with this game, he's going to be really, really good. And that was Larry Nixon, his very first tournament day. But I drew Roland Martin in tournaments. I drew Ricky Clunn. I drew David Fritz. I mean, I could name name after name after name that I stood right in front of the boat with, battling them for the very next fish that went in that boat. And there is a difference. That is the difference in tournament fishing. But I've said for years, and this is a statement that we've talked about God a little bit, that where certain people have God-given talents that the rest of us are not blessed with. I can't sing. I'm white. I can't dance very well. Chris can't either. I've seen him dance. We try, though. We try. There are a lot of things, a lot of gifts and talents that I can't do. But there are talents that God gave people God-given talents to be able to catch fish a little better than the rest of us. And I'd said forever that the three people that I've been in the boat with personally that had those talents better than the best fishermen I've ever been in the boat with, Roland Martin, Larry Nixon, and my wife Chris. I've seen them make and do things and make decisions that you just go, wow, where did that come from? It's a little bit like taking a running back that's a great running back, that is like maybe the best ever. Somebody like a Gale Sayers. Almost said O.J. Simpson. Don't go. But Adrian Peterson. Some of the greatest. And you ask them about. I've seen them. Sports writers ask them about. Man, you made 2 cuts there in that last run, 38-yard run for a touchdown that won the game. Tell us about that. And they can't remember exactly what they've done. It's a God-given talent that they maybe caught something out of the corner of their eye, or maybe made planted a left foot. I've seen Roland and Larry and my wife Chris do those type things on the water. So and that doesn't mean that Roland, Larry, and Chris doesn't get better and can't get better, because I watch them all 3 of them get better. Right. And you watch them, but there's God-given talents that he gives, and he does that in fishing. And I'm sure some of those guys, I would believe, I've never been in the boat with Brian Friend. Been a great friend for years. Absolutely. But I know that Brian probably's got those God-given talents that some people don't have. And I think that when you look at the top fishermen, there's a lot of those guys that's got that. And maybe some of those people out there have the same God-given talents that Chris and Larry and Roland's got. Probably does. I just haven't seen it. But so it's a game that you can always improve at, but it's a game that God got to give you some skills also.
I agree with you. I'll give you a great example of that too. Jimmy, last week we were at Clark's Hill Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. Dakota Eber, who was fishing today, I don't think he made the cut. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that in a minute. But he won it. And on live, he was fishing using his forward-facing sonar. He was fishing for some of those fish. He was looking at video gaming. And he made 2 casts, pulls up, sees them, makes 2 casts. His second cast, as soon as it hits the water, he reels it in real quick. He said, this isn't it. This isn't the deal. He says, they're on the bank. They're on the bank. He went up there and caught 2 immediately. Okay, what? That's instinctive, right? That's a gift. Not everybody can make that decision, but I mean, it's like as soon as his bait hit the water, he knew. And I don't know, was he reading the ground? Was he reading the fish? What he looked at, they weren't reacting right? Or did he just know? More fish are coming up to spawn. That's the gift you're talking about.
More than likely, he probably couldn't tell you why he made that decision, because, like I said, I've fished thousands of days with my wife Chris, so I've seen her do that over and over and over. I have fished probably hundreds of days with Roland Martin, and he still amazes me with doing that. And I fished quite a few days with Larry Nixon. I haven't fished with Larry in a long time, but I know he's still making that same type deal.
Sure.
And many times you ask them, why did you do that? And they don't know. They don't have the answer.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? And of course, fishing is one of those games where it's real easy after you catch the fish to explain some big hypothetical reason why you caught that fish.
David Dudley. Yes.
Yeah, and that's simple after you catch it. But to have that reason before you catch the fish, that's really the cool deal. And you know, I had a lot of fun at tournaments because I always like to watch those guys that had these big long deals about exactly why they caught a big string of fish that day and did well. Well, that's like, it's easy after you're smart. So I would like to a lot of times go up to the weigh-in and somebody would say, you know, you got a nice stringer there, you know, how'd you catch him? Well, I tell you, I couldn't figure it out. Chris. Chris has seen me do this. I couldn't figure it out. 10:30, I hadn't caught a fish. And I looked up and Larry Nixon was going by. And Larry Nixon was running about half speed looking at the bank. So I knew that Larry was watching to see if the purple martins had come in the area. And if the purple martins were in the area, I knew Larry would be throwing that blue worm because that's what Larry likes to throw in that. And so I immediately put my trolling motor up and I started running the bank looking for purple martin houses. And I finally saw this yellow boat dock. And the yellow boat dock had cedar trees tied to it. So I stopped with those cedar trees, I throw the spinner bait up there and started catching it. And Chris is going, get ready for the anglers to arrive. Okay? But that's sort of the way the people go after they've caught the fish. It's pretty easy to make up a good story.
Absolutely.
By the way, don't worry about those purple martins.
It still works today, brother. Well, let's talk about, I guess, our final words. I know they're starting the post-game show down there, and that's all good. But let's talk about tomorrow, what's on the line, $300,000 championship Sunday, and the title of Redcrest champion. Man, you've got Brian Thrift leading, Alton Jones. I know you know Alton Jones, his son. Alton Jones Jr. is a great angler. Matt Lee's in there. It's a pretty stout top 10. How do those guys control nerves on a championship Sunday with that kind of title on the line?
You know, once you start fishing, you really don't, none of the nerves or anything comes out. The big thing is to get through between here and there. It is difficult to go to sleep when you're up and you have a chance to win a tournament. You're up and everybody's got a chance. You're in the top 10. That 10th place guy's not that far back behind. I know that once you separate the first 2 or 3, I think 6 or 7 pounds. But that's not much. That can be made up in one fish in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
But the big problem is just controlling everything tonight, getting a good night's rest, and getting after it tomorrow. Once those guys start fishing, they really won't be too concerned about it. One of the things that makes this format different is you know how everyone else is doing. So you can adjust your fishing a little bit if you need to, depending upon what the other people are catching. And sometimes you can make adjustments that will propel you to a better place in standings. Other times you might make adjustments that really cause you to really bomb out. All you're doing is the tournaments that I've only fished one Major League Fishing tournament. Ott Defoe was my partner, and it was tremendously exciting. It was a lot of fun. I got a lot of penalties that day. We had some penalties for several different things that I did wrong. The first thing I did once we got up there, where we were fishing, I grabbed my rod and started making casts. And I grabbed my arm and he grabbed me around. He said, Jimmy, no. I said, what's the matter? And we had fish breaking on a boat dock on a shad spawn. Perfect, just exactly what you want to do. And I said, what are you doing? I was to knock me out of the boat. He said, don't throw it. I said, they're schooling on that dock on shad spawn. And he said, you got to wait till this guy tells you to throw. I want to kick that guy out of the boat. Him and his fancy camera. But so it's so different, such a different format, and that knowing what the other people are catching and knowing that you can make some adjustments that might work or not work. I watched the last little bit today with Jonathan Van Dam, great fisherman, needing to simply catch 2 fish. And weight, I think the low you can catch is 1 pound, 7 ounce. That's about a 12.5 or 13 ounce spot in this lake.
Yeah.
A Kentucky bass.
He had 3 fish?
Yeah. He had 3 fish.
Oh.
And I saw him fishing some boat docks, and Rippy picked up his pattern real quickly. He was throwing to the back corner of floating docks, and he would trolling motor around to the other side and hit that back corner. One cast only. And I don't know how much that pattern he used the last 3 days or not, or if that was just, but I certainly would have been fishing a little differently, but I don't know what all he's doing. So,
Sure.
But he used up a lot of precious time there, and I think he just needed the 1.7. I think he was like 8 fish that would have qualified on the minimum weight.
That's tough.
And he'll think about that for the rest of his life.
No
for the
doubt
rest of
about
his
it.
life. But those guys are professionals. They're good. If I was to throw my money out there, even if Brian wasn't leaving, I'd probably throw it on my buddy Brian. He's a great fisherman. But it's gonna be a dogfight out there tomorrow, and they're catching a lot of fish. The weather's gonna get worse, which will probably make the Kentucky's bite better, the largemouths bite worse. But any offshore fish might bite a little bit better. So there's a lot those guys got on their plate to think about. And the one good thing is you're talking about the 10 guys that's catching fish best on this lake this week, better than anybody else in the world. So that's a good part about this in the type format when you end up with the 10 best guys out there.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean they're better than some of the guys that are not getting to play. It means that they were better than them this week. It's cool. Gonna be a lot of fun. Gonna be exciting.
Absolutely.
And Chris will make it exciting, even if they walk in with nothing.
I appreciate it. That's a gift.
A gift. Big lungs. Big lungs. Big lungs. Just think if he was Dolly Parton, what he would look like. This day and time, Chris, don't even think about it. You're a guy. Don't ever think about being a girl. This day and time, I know.
You still like a father figure.
You're just a guy. You are a father. So
exactly right. Love Jimmy Houston, man. Thank you so much for joining me, Jimmy. And I can promise you this, he is the most approachable man in the game today. To have an autograph from Jimmy Houston is legendary, iconic. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a godly man. He's a good friend. I spent many years with Jimmy Houston, man, and there's none better. So tomorrow is Championship Sunday. It is a life-changing day for one of those top 10 guys who will walk away $300,000 richer, and that title of Redcrest champion, which is iconic and legendary within itself. Not easy to win, but one of those 10 guys will win it tomorrow. Will it be Brian Thrift, Alton Jones Jr., Matt Lee?
My buddy Edwin Evers.
Edwin Evers in there. He's in there, man. We're going to find out tomorrow.
Right, he's won before.
He has won before. He is first Redcrest champion back just 3 years ago. But thanks everyone for coming out. Go head down to the post-game show. It's neat to see insight from those 10 guys that were out there, and then the 5 that didn't make the cut too. It's payday for those guys. On behalf of Jimmy Houston, I'm Chris Jones. He's the best ever. Love this guy, Jimmy. I got to do it one more time for you, man. Let's see your 2 best bass.